tonight.
Oh!
Dr. Christian's back on the obesity frontline.
For me, cheesecake was like crack cocaine.
With more warnings from the land of plenty.
If I don't change my ways, I'm not going to live much longer. They gave me 5 more years.
In the feeding clinic, it's Supersize comfort eater Chris.
For you, food seems to be a friend, but it's not.
Stuff's in the back pretty quick.
Versus super skinny Nathan.
I would like to eat more, but I just don't think I can possibly fit any more in my stomach.
Plus, we're exploring the desperate world of life-threatening eating disorders.
There are times when I look in the mirror and all I see is flab and rolls and curves.
Because it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. Unhealthy relationships with food aren't only a British problem. Across the pond, over a third of the population are clinically obese. Dr. Christian is in America's fattest city, Evansville, to show us the horrifying impact obesity is having on its expanding population. From the very young...
Well, it's actually up 6 pounds from last time you were here.
...to those whose time is running out.
I need the help. Yeah. That's why I'm doing the surgery. I don't feel like I can do it by myself.
The city's Deaconess Hospital is on the front line, treating patients suffering the chronic effects of the obesity epidemic. And today, Dr. Christian is joining physician Dr. John Moynier on the ward.
We see a lot of uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled high blood pressure, high cholesterol. All of those are in some way associated with the obesity.
And do you think this problem's getting worse?
Absolutely. I think it's a long history of people that don't exercise well, a lot more fast food. But I think a lot of the patients that we see in the hospital don't understand how bad their problems are.
Can I tag along and be nosy and see what
absolutely.
you do?
The first patient is Dennis Hamers, whose weight-related high blood pressure has led to heart failure and pneumonia.
How are you, Dennis?
All right. I'm breathing.
Blood pressure was extremely high when he came in, and because of that, it's making his heart really work overboard. Some of the fluid's backing up into his lungs, which also contributed to the pneumonia. But of course, the obesity doesn't help this complication at all.
And have you tried to do anything about your weight, Dennis?
I keep a close eye on it. Because it's not Hollywood, buddy. You don't wake up one morning and go, whoops, take 2. No, buddy, you're dead, you're dead.
Well, I've been looking around the hospital. A lot of the problems here are obesity-related. Why do you think it's such a problem in Evansville?
Our lifestyle. It's easier just to go, hold on, do that, I can go get me a burger.
Yeah.
Well, that burger's going to clog your arteries, pal. They've made it too convenient.
You're kind of saying that, you know, America, land of plenty, has kind of backfired on you now.
My God, I don't think I could have put it a better way.
Next patient is Phyllis Moorhead, whose body is filling with fluid as a result of heart failure.
She has compression wraps on her legs right here to help kind of squeeze some of the swelling out of the legs.
And you've lost a toe. What happened there?
Due to diabetes. That diabetes is bad.
It sure is. How long have you been overweight for?
Long time.
Have you been trying to keep it down?
Yeah, well, I know it's worth it. I should do it, but sometimes I just mess up.
Why do you think it's so hard to control weight?
Fast food don't help matters any.
All right, Phyllis, I'll see you in the morning, okay?
Okay.
All right, have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Finally, the doctor visits Gary Young, who suffers from weight-related diabetes.
What's happened to Gary?
He's got an infection in the side of his knee. And one of the things that really contributes to that is his type 2 diabetes.
I never did take care of myself. I spent 25 years out on the road driving a semi, you know, and I ate greasy hamburgers a lot, all kinds of stuff.
And were you told about the possible complications of being really overweight?
Yeah, I was told about it, but I didn't care. I figured that I was a super, you know.
It's not going to happen to you, is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen to me.
It's never too late to make changes. You remember that?
If you got a breath in your body, you got a chance.
I've seen some pretty severe conditions here, all of them obesity-related, and I have to say that now I'm a bit concerned because the patients have all admitted to me that they know what they should be doing, but they don't do it. And my worry now is how on earth do we get them doing those right things?
Back in the UK, in an attempt to stop us ending up like the poor patients in Evansville, Dr. Christian is confronting calorie crimes at both ends of the scales, with 16 supersizers and super skinnies. He wants them to tackle their extreme habits by facing their opposites in his feeding clinic, and he's ready to pair up the next 2 willing victims.
Chris, come on forward. And I'm going to pair you up with Nathan.
All right, Chris.
Hi, Nathan. I'm Chris. I'm a bit big. You're a bit small.
There was a huge difference between me and Chris. He made me feel a lot sort of skinnier than I've felt in the past. I'm always getting told that I should eat more pies.
You should, but you shouldn't eat as many as I do. Some of the other super skinnies were really, really tiny. I didn't want to even give them a hug just in case they would snap.
Chris's main priority is food, and he'll go out of his way to get his hands on it, whereas Nathan will completely forget to eat unless someone brings his food for him. They're both young enough to turn this around, and I'm hoping that together they'll help each other through this experience.
"26-year-old Chris Longley from Hampshire is a self-confessed takeaway junkie.
Hi, can I order a large meaty pizza with extra cheese, extra bacon, extra sausage with a garlic pizza bread, buffalo wings? It's Big Chris.
With up to 12 takeaways a week, binge eater Chris is digesting nearly double his daily calorie limit.
I'm definitely addicted to takeaway food. It's a compulsion.
His £150 a week habit is hitting his wallet and his waistline. Single Chris weighs in at over 24 stone, with a belt-busting 64-inch waist.
Breakfast, I'll have cereal. And then on the way to work, I'll have a takeaway from a drive-through. And then I'll go to a petrol station, pick up a sandwich or a sausage roll or chocolate bars, crisps. And then I'll eat some of them on the way to work as well. But at lunchtime, I'll often go and pick up a quarter-pounder burger with fries.
And once back to his parents' place, a home-cooked meal can still be followed by more takeaway.
So this is kung po chicken in batter with egg fried rice, egg burger, ribs, prawn toast.
You've got 3 meals there. He's out of control. It's not just about eating, it's about how he thinks about food and how he sees food.
9 years ago, Chris was around 15 stone. But through breaking up with his fiancée and a spell working abroad, Chris piled on nearly 10 stone in weight and was diagnosed with binge eating disorder.
I think food's become the way that I control my feelings. So instead of actually reacting to things, I tend to eat.
Embarrassed by the binge eating he feels unable to control, Chris is becoming increasingly reclusive.
I like eating on my own, in the car especially, just because it's solitary. Nobody can judge me for what I'm eating. When I look in the mirror, I see 2 or 3 times a normal person. I just feel like a blob.
Chris's dangerous diet is certainly damaging his chances of rekindling his love life, but that may be the least of his worries.
So currently I have arthritis, psoriasis, depression, and hypertension, high cholesterol, and I'm worried that I'm going to get diabetes as well quite soon. Even with all of those illnesses, it still hasn't managed to stop me from eating as much as I do.
My fear is that he won't live as long as I'd like him to live.
I can't carry on, otherwise I'm going to die young.
21-year-old hairdresser Nathan Smith feels he's simply too busy for food.
My biggest problem is having time to eat. When I am in the salon, there's no way I can stop a colour halfway through just to go and grab a bite of my sandwich. It just is an inconvenience.
As a result, meal-dodging Nathan weighs just 8 stone 5, and it's no surprise his skinny frame is starting to get unwelcome attention.
I do get the odd comment off a client. You're so slim, you're so tiny, why don't you eat more? Get some chips and gravy down you.
But when it comes to his daily diet, variety isn't the spice of life for undernourished Nathan.
Pretty much everything I eat is quick and easy. In the morning it will be a bowl of cereal. Then through the day I will try and snack on a few biscuits or a bit of chocolate. Today I've got 5 minutes in between clients where they're being shampooed, so it's a case of just grabbing one of them.
The only decent meal he has is the lunch his gran brings in every day.
What have you made me today?
Ham and cheese. I do worry. Some days I put quite a lot in the bag.
See you later.
Otherwise, it worries me that he's just not going to bother eating at all.
And once single Nathan gets home, with Gran not around, his diet leaves a lot to be desired. Dinner is out of a packet pretty much every night.
I do tend to eat the same things on a daily basis. I would like to eat more, but I just don't think I can possibly fit any more in my stomach.
But Nathan's now getting sick of his bony body.
My last boyfriend, he was a dancer and he had an amazing physique. I did compare myself to him a lot. It did make me realise I was a very skinny person. I felt a little bit daft, a bit more unattractive, and perhaps wasn't happy with my own body. I am only 21 years old. I want this to be the start of my life and perhaps my happiness.
Coming up, Dr. Christian sends Chris to learn lessons from his American counterpart.
My name is Joseph Amador. I'm 30 years old, and I'm 32 stone. The doctors have told me my lifespan is going to be about 35. I would have never thought that eating food would have done that to me.
Before Chris swaps his distorted diet in the feeding clinic for super skinny Nathan's.
I think he just felt really hungry. Looked a little bit gutted, really. I suppose that might be the right word.
Supersize takeaway junkie Chris is going to be facing super skinny stylist Nathan in the feeding clinic. But before he does, Dr. Christian is sending Chris to the west coast of America for a serious wake-up call by meeting someone a few years older and 8 stone heavier than him. After an 11-hour flight, Chris arrives in the city of Antioch, California. It's time for Big Chris to meet Big Joe.
Hi, I'm Chris.
I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Come on in.
Cheers, thank you.
At 30 years old and 32 stone, Joe Amador still lives in his parents' home. He was diagnosed with high blood pressure aged just 11, when he was already 14 stone, and having doubled his weight since on a diet of fast food and soda, his body is now falling apart.
The weight gain has caused the swelling of my leg. If I cut myself, it doesn't bleed. Water comes out of the wounds.
His swollen frame is symptomatic of something even more serious.
I actually suffer from congestive heart failure. They say my heart is at 20% capacity.
When he recently ended up in A&E, he discovered just how life-threatening his condition had become.
My lungs were full of water. My whole body was full of water, basically. When I seen the doctors, he says I wouldn't have made it another day. It was the scariest thing I ever heard in my life.
With his high blood pressure, Chris could be heading down a similar route. But for now, he's breaking the ice with his favourite subject, food.
What kind of things do you enjoy eating?
Anything, really.
Same, that's so similar.
I grew up eating almost anything.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah.
And temptation is soon on the menu. Big Joe is taking Chris to see just how he got so big, with a visit to his favourite fast food joint.
Can I have the double extreme burger, please?
Chris is in burger heaven. Or is it hell?
Guys, I got the super extreme burger and the mushroom Swiss for you.
This monster mouthful is quite a shock, even for him.
Wow. Look at that.
Good luck.
My God. And how do you eat this?
Just attack it.
That is insane. The extreme burger was massive. 4 burgers, loads of cheese, loads of mushrooms, double bun. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
That is a good burger.
Chris might never come back at this rate, but in between mouthfuls, at least they're both realising why they overeat.
Is there ever a point where you know it's too much, but you still kind of go for it?
Yeah, almost every time. If you're having a bad day,
yeah,
it's in the head and you just want to eat to help you, so.
You know, you get that mood, you just keep eating, it's my escape.
But with the boys well and truly indulging their bad habits, it's just as well that the next morning, Dr. Christian is en route for a surprise visit, ready to convince Chris to face up to his food issues.
Chris really is a sort of classic binger. He turns to food as a sort of comfort blanket, and he's sort of stuck in this cycle of binging. So I'd really like to make him the master of his cravings and not the slave to them.
Well, Big Joe's got a cautionary tale to tell that might make Chris stop and think about the path he's on.
I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I was 25 and a half when they told me that. It's twice the size as a normal heart, and that's because of the blood pressure. You have high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Do your legs swell at all?
Yeah.
They do swell?
Yeah, quite regularly, yeah.
If I don't change my ways, I'm not going to live much longer.
That's really scary. Right?
Yeah. It's scary. They gave me 5 more years.
Why?
The doctor talks about heart transplants, which is bad for me because they won't give me a transplant because of my weight.
Will they if you lose weight?
Probably, yeah.
Is that why you're trying recently?
That's one of the reasons, yeah. That's the main reason.
I wouldn't have thought by looking at Joe that he only had 5 years to live. And when he told me that, that really, really shocked me. It really brought it home to me that that could be me.
Chris and Joe head back to the house for breakfast, and right on cue, Dr. Christian is pulling up outside.
OK, is this it?
To give Chris a further shock, just as he's tucking into another unhealthy meal.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Have I interrupted your breakfast? Joe?
Joe.
Christian, nice to meet you. How's it going?
Doing all right.
Yeah?
Dr. Christian wants to know why on earth a man given 5 years to live is still eating the way he is.
Burgers, breakfast time?
I know.
Joe, you're supposed to be setting an example. What's going on?
I know. I know, it's easy.
When you were told all this, why wasn't that enough to kind of get yourself in shape and get healthy?
I've tried a lot of things. And now, I'm trying something now where I'm addicted to soda. I switched from regular to diet, and I've lost 11 pounds in 3 weeks. Just from doing that.
But a snoop in Joe's freezer reveals the unhealthy habits that he's finding harder to break.
Oh. So we've got burgers, chicken pot pies. What is a corn dog?
It's a hot dog with like a pancake batter over it. It's supposed to be deep fried.
It's what we call battered sausage.
Kind of like that, yeah.
The theme running through all this food, you know, is fat and salt.
Salt, yeah.
It's the two things you definitely shouldn't be eating, isn't it?
Joe's story has definitely been a warning for Chris.
When Joe told you about the fact that he needed a heart transplant or only had a few years left, how did you feel about that?
Scared for him and for me in a way. He can't actually seem to control his habits at the moment of eating. And it worried me that if he doesn't, then he's only got 5 years left, and I think that should really push anybody into action. I think it's really pushed me to think about what could happen to me in the future. I've got enough problems now. I don't want there to be more.
I really hope that this visit for Chris is going to be the wake-up call that he needs. And he really does seem determined that he's not going to run into the same problems as Joe is now. But does he mean it, or is this just hot air?
I think after the last couple of days with Joe, he's got so many problems health-wise. Joe, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been good to meet
I don't want to be like that. And I think that's given me the motivation now to go back home and to really push it.
A few weeks later, Chris is back in the UK at Dr. Christian's feeding clinic, ready to put his newfound resolve to the test. Joining him across the dinner table is super skinny meal dodger Nathan, who needs to put right his puny portions. But before they exchange their eating habits, Dr. Christian wants to delve a little deeper. At 8 stone 5, Nathan is under-eating by 1,000 calories a day, with a vitamin-deficient diet putting him at risk of skin problems and osteoporosis.
So why are you so skinny? Basically, it means you're not eating, doesn't it? And why are you not eating?
I have got quite a hectic lifestyle. I've got
like excuse number one. Yeah.
I've got a very sociable lifestyle.
Excuse number two. I mean, looking through at the sorts of food that you have been eating, it's spectacularly boring. It's day in, day out, exactly the same thing in a little miserable portion. And you don't enjoy food, do you?
Not particularly. I just do because it's routine, I suppose.
It's another excuse. Excuse number three, maybe? You also say that after you've eaten, you don't always feel so good.
I often wonder why I must feel quite bloated, and I do sometimes think perhaps I've just got a really small stomach.
Your body is very efficient, so it'll size things according to requirements. You know, so your stomach will be small. As soon as we get you eating again, that will change.
Weighing in at 24 stone 6, Chris is eating enough for 2. But after his American adventure, is he ready to recognise where he's going wrong?
Chris. Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
To the UK.
Yep.
What do you think you took home?
Joe is the way that I don't want to be, and he started where I am about now. I don't want to die early, really.
When you eat, when you go into one of your real binges, how do you feel?
I think a lot of my time when I'm eating, I'll eat because I'm bored, or for a number of other reasons, but they're mostly emotional rather than hunger, physical hunger.
For you, food seems to be a friend.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, it stabs you in the back pretty quick.
It does.
Well, it's time to put words into action as Supersize and Superskinny swap their diets. in the hope that watching someone else struggle with their preposterous portions will shock them into a healthier way of eating. Chris and Nathan's dietary adventure begins with breakfast and an exchange of cereal. But while Chris is presented with a rather paltry portion, Nathan's big bowl contains a triple helping.
Well, I was going to say good luck, but I think it's...
It's you that might need...
It's me that needs the luck. Here goes.
It's nice to eat something.
It's a civilised start to proceedings, but it's not long before Nathan's tiny tummy seems to be feeling the strain.
I am, you know, I'm getting fuller now. I'm getting to the point where my stomach feels a bit like it's stretching a little bit, and probably going to have to leave the majority of that, really.
I think you should try and finish it. It's the first meal. Come on.
Right, OK.
If you want to put on weight, you're going to have to push it a bit, aren't you?
Nathan does cram in a few more mouthfuls, but unfortunately, Chris's usual brekkie doesn't end there. There's still his morning snack stop to come.
This is for the way to work.
Oh, God.
I eat constantly, pretty much, and I've never really had that feeling of hunger.
Right.
So I'd like to sort of refine that in a way and try and learn to when enough is enough. Well done.
But fair play to Nathan, he's pushed through Chris's multi-coursed meal.
I whizzed through my breakfast in about 2 or 3 minutes. I think it took him about an hour.
Chris definitely did manage that bowl of cereal. I think he just felt really hungry after having it. Looked a little bit gutted, really. I suppose that might be the right word.
I think Nathan, he's going to get quite moody later. I think he's going to find it really difficult to eat everything that I usually eat. He's really going to crack, I think.
So with battle lines drawn, it's soon time for round 2, lunch. And for Chris, it's a pair of ham baps, while Nathan's facing a packed plate of chicken, sausages, carrots, 3 Yorkshire puds, gravy, and a glass of cola.
I'm really jealous of that.
Lunch seems to be going down well on both sides.
Well, this is my last mouthful, really, now, so, yeah, go for it.
Not quite, Nathan. Chris usually has another course up his sleeve.
Rhubarb crumble with custard.
Smothered in custard.
Yeah, you could put it like that, yeah. I could eat that. Sometimes I would have seconds after that, you know. Do you never get that feeling, though, of if you're eating something that you really like, that you want to eat more of it than maybe you need?
I'll eat it to the point where I feel like that's enough.
But I don't have that off switch.
Chris's binge behaviour is a big concern for Dr. Christian too, so he's decided shock tactics are needed to curb his appetite for self-destruction, and in particular his passion for pizza. During a typical week, Chris can get through 30 slices of his favourite fix, adding up to a colossal 8,340 calories. So Dr. Christian wants to show him the full horror of what's really lurking in his usual choice of a large meat feast.
Right, so, making a pizza, what do we start with?
The dough.
The dough, and look what I've got over here. Nice and thick. How do you get it all nice and crunchy when it comes out the oven? Masses and masses of oil all around your bready pizza crust.
Next, the fat equivalent in pure lard, which goes into the base, the meat, and the cheese toppings.
So there's about half a block of animal fat.
Now sugar, which is added to the tomato sauce.
18 3/4 teaspoons of sugar in your one pizza. That's not all. 3 teaspoons of salt. That's about 15 grams. Salt tends to put people's blood pressure up. How's your blood pressure?
High.
Ah, funny that.
That's quite a shock, yeah.
Are you proud of what we've made there?
Absolutely not.
This pizza contains 50 grams of saturated fat, so Chris is getting nearly double the daily recommended amount from one meal alone. Dr. Christian wants to make sure he understands the strain he's putting on his body.
Nice picky up there for you. What might all this yellow, shiny stuff be?
Fat.
Fat. And within all that fat, somewhere, is a blood vessel. Nice round blood vessel. But there's something not quite right about that blood vessel, is there? It's called an atheroma. It's a result of having too much cholesterol and fat circulating around your body.
Atheromas narrow the arteries and can reduce blood flow to major organs, leading to chest pains and angina, and could eventually trigger a heart attack. Using a rubber artery, Dr. Christian wants Chris to really appreciate what a fat-filled diet looks like on the inside.
This is a diseased blood vessel that has been slowly, over time, blocked off because somebody liked their pizzas too much. That is pretty much what it looks like. It's a sort of gruel-like, oily, fatty, grainy substance. Not really very pleasant, is it?
Like sausage, yeah, disgusting.
It's this stuff here that's going to kill you. Fancy pizza?
No. That was really scary, actually, because I could feel that those kind of things were happening inside me, and it worries me that I'm on borrowed time almost.
Coming up, Chris loses patience with Nathan's excuses.
He made out like he had two stomachs. I think he's a cow.
Our eating disorder sufferers reveal how illness can lead to a distorted view of the body.
I just feel my arms are like really fat at the top, and I don't know, I just hate them.
And Nathan reaches breaking point. Supersize binge eater Chris and diet-dodging Nathan are coming to the end of their first day of swapping meals to shock them into seeing how unhealthy their portions really are. And no sooner has Nathan digested Chris's late afternoon snack of crisps, chocolate and cola than it's time for dinner.
Oh, yeah?
And one of Chris's massive meaty pizzas.
Definitely enough there.
Oh, and a double dose of garlic bread on the side, while Chris is presented with Nathan's daily dinner of packet pasta and sauce.
So could you eat all this?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, and some.
Really?
I'd eat the whole pizza and then have some, yeah, side as well.
It was huge. The pizza itself was actually huge. A mass of meat. I was actually quite scared at that time. I think there's more grease in that than I've got in hair products. And I'm wearing a lot, let me tell you.
I wouldn't look at it, I'd just eat it. When I'm eating, I go into this sort of frenzy where it's just, what am I eating next?
For me, I've got to learn how to look after myself, cook for myself, other things like that. And for you, you've got to make sure you sort of portion your food out realistically and not just because you feel like eating that much.
But Chris does seem to be making progress.
I'm already starting to feel a bit hungry again, as if I need something else, but I actually can feel that that's a head hunger rather than a physical hunger. Yeah, it's good that I can recognise the difference.
Last mouthful and that's it.
Yeah.
To say that Chris could eat one of them pizzas 2 to 3 times a week, it's a little bit disgusting, really.
Seeing Nathan eating my favourite thing was quite difficult, but also having had that little session with Christian, it was much easier, actually, to keep away from the craving. Eventually, the craving does subside.
As day 2 dawns for our diet-swapping duo, any hopes Chris might have of a big breakfast are soon dashed.
Morning.
Your breakfast.
By more mismatched portions of cereal.
I would usually probably have another bowl as well.
Oh, right, OK. Oh, wow. I've never eaten this amount of cereal in the morning.
I would probably eat 2 bowls. I'd quite easily eat 3 sometimes, you know. And it's just greed. You know, you're just eating for the sake of eating, not because you're hungry anymore.
Before breakfast, I was feeling a bit moody, and I think it did lift my spirits, actually. Just the first mouthful, I was like, yes. I wouldn't have thought that smaller bowl could actually give me a bit of energy. It's already given me a bit of a buzz, yeah.
Before their next meal, Dr. Christian has asked Chris and Nathan to look over some old photos to reflect on the impact their unhealthy habits have had.
So, you know, this one isn't too long ago, actually. I was about 20. I got asked to do a competition in a nightclub. All the rest of the guys that were getting undressed were really muscly. It did make me feel so self-conscious and quite paranoid as to were they laughing at me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So this one, probably 16. I think I look quite good there, actually.
Yeah.
Quite like looking at myself there. I already had this big fixation on food and I was worried that I was going to get bigger. So this is where the big change happened. At 24, 25, I was travelling abroad a lot with my job. I was eating all convenience food, so it was always takeaways. And I think I put about 7 or 8 stone on. That's actually like a major difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't notice it, though. I mean, I obviously knew I was eating too much. And looking back, it's quite a shock for me as well. I think it is quite a poignant moment, actually, because you don't necessarily see yourself in that way until you see it in a photo. It's made another nail in my head to say, this isn't what you want to be, Chris.
And Chris gets a further push, courtesy of a letter of support from Mum Susan.
Dear Chris, I want you to know how proud I am that you have admitted your addiction to food. Grab this opportunity to change your appearance so that your body reflects your amazing personality. Don't treat it as a one-off, but as a change for a lifetime. And remember, I will always be here for you, with lots and lots of love, Mum. It's really important to me to have my family behind me, and I think when I get home, I will be completely motivated to lose weight. I've got everyone behind me, I've got all the things in place now. Just need to get on and do it.
Over the course of the series, 6 people have been sharing their very personal experiences of life with an eating disorder. All of them have suffered to some degree with body dysmorphia, a form of crippling, distorted self-image which often drives conditions like anorexia and bulimia.
Everybody else around me could see how thin I was getting, but I just couldn't see it myself. Like, every time I looked in the mirror, I could see was things to pull and more weight to lose.
1 in 4 of us aren't happy with what we see in the mirror, but for the estimated 620,000 people in the UK with body dysmorphia, their view of themselves is skewed by an obsessive and irrational belief that they are ugly or flawed.
I just feel my arms are like really fat at the top, and I don't know, I just hate them, like I've always hated them.
This warped thinking can affect anyone, but for eating disorder sufferers, it means they can feel they are never thin enough.
People with eating disorders often have a distorted body image, and despite being extraordinarily thin, see themselves as fat.
I find it difficult to see myself in a true light. There are times when I look in the mirror and I can see how thin I am, and I think, gosh, Ellie, you need to put more weight on. I can see all your bones or your sinews. But then there are other times when all I see is flab and rolls and curves. It just gets me so down.
It's a very emotional situation because you see your daughter wasting away and you are powerless to do anything about it.
This obsession with how one looks in the mirror can and does drive people to the extreme.
I tend to look in the mirror quite a lot. I tend to only fixate on points that I'd like to change. It makes me feel like I need to eat less and purge more because I just feel like I need to lose more weight to make it less apparent.
20-year-old Lucy suffers from bulimia with anorexic tendencies. Her body dysmorphia drove her obsession with her weight.
If I couldn't get my hands around my thigh or I couldn't measure my waist to a certain length, it was again binge and purge to punish myself for not being what I wanted.
Now in recovery, part of her treatment has focused on addressing her negative self-image with a mirror exposure session.
Focus on a hot spot. Tell me what you're observing.
Like this bit of my legs, like this lower bit, the way that like the knees go in this way and then out.
So we're being quite judgmental here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah? They see thin celebrities and they see that as happiness and success. So this is why we've set up a body image workshop so that we can start to address the concerns around weight and shape.
The more that I look at them, the more I think, well, actually, they're not that bad. They could be worse.
That's brilliant. You've done really, really well.
I need to get on with life and just enjoy myself and love myself for who I am rather than what I look like.
36-year-old Emma Paul has also had to learn to love her body. 18 months ago, her anorexia was deeply entrenched when we put her on a course to snap her out of her dangerous eating habits. Her distorted self-image had led her to starve her body, but one task, a massage, opened her eyes to the reality of her skeletal frame.
I don't like how I look. A bit shy and embarrassed about them seeing my protruding bones.
Now firmly in recovery, today's a momentous day for Emma.
It's my birthday and my present from my mother today is a massage. I'm still feeling very nervous and apprehensive, but probably not so scared as I was previously.
Getting undressed for the massage was less traumatic than it was on the course. I'm still coming to terms with the new body shape, but now I've done it, hopefully I can get myself to do it again.
If you think that you or someone you know might have body dysmorphia or an eating disorder, find out where to go for help at channel4.com/supersize. Back in the feeding clinic, Chris and Nathan are continuing to challenge each other's habits, and lunch provides a further test.
We've got chips, bread, a couple of sausages, a bit of bacon, eggs, Tommy K, and some garlic bread.
For Chris, it's Nathan's solitary pack of salt and vinegar from the salon.
Bit gutted. That is more than you should have. But I can't imagine that you could actually exist on crisps at lunchtime.
Nathan's keen to put on the pounds, but he isn't facing Chris's greasy fry-up with a great deal of gusto.
The thought of eating everything else is making me feel a little bit sick.
The deal was really, though, that I eat what you eat and you eat what I eat.
But the simple fact is it's easier to eat less than it is to eat more.
So you finished then?
Yeah. Sorry.
But when Chris's dessert of pancakes and ice cream comes out, sweet-toothed Nathan seems to have found a bit of extra space from somewhere.
So when you say you're full, I expected you to be full?
There's savoury full and dessert full. I knew that dessert was coming, I just knew that dessert would come.
I just can't believe that you weren't able to finish your main meal and you've still been able to have a complete dessert. So it just makes me sort of question how full you really were.
Chris's idea of being full is completely different to me. My idea of being full is leaving that 10% for the rest of the meal, which is your dessert.
He made out like he had two stomachs. I think he's a cow. He's got like one stomach for savoury, one stomach for sweet. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Chris's final offering at dinner would certainly be enough for two. While he gets a reasonable helping of chicken chow mein, Nathan is presented with a terrifying takeaway selection of curry sauce, chips, 2 battered sausages, scampi, and more garlic bread, plus 3 glasses of cola on top.
This, to me, just looks like my worst nightmare. It just looks awful.
Maybe try a bit of the scampi and the curry sauce, if you can. That's my favourite thing.
It's horrible. It's so spicy as well.
And Nathan's body is unaccustomed to such a grease-laden plateful.
I'm actually feeling a bit shaky.
Yeah, I can see you shaking.
I'm getting a dab on. I'm scared of burping in case I feel like I'm going to be sick.
So that's me done. Do you think you're going to manage any more?
Definitely not. No way.
But though he struggled with that monstrous mane, Nathan rouses himself for a final push.
You know, this has probably been my hardest meal yet.
So do you think when you go back home, do you think you're going to try and make more of an effort to plan, like in the morning maybe, get up a bit earlier and make your food?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to obviously take more responsibility for myself. That's what, you know, you do as a grown-up.
And I need to do that as well. I'm definitely ready to get on with this diet now.
And right on cue, Dr. Christian's ready to hand over their blueprints for a healthier future.
These are your diet plans. This is going to tell you all that you need to know for the next 3 months and hopefully beyond.
Chris's plan cuts his calorie intake from 4,276 to 2,300 a day by ditching those takeaways in favour of healthy cooked meals and swapping savoury snacks and sausages for crisp breads and fruit. Nathan needs to give his calorie intake a serious boost, so it's out with the packet meals and in with proper portions of meat and oily fish and healthier snacks like fruit and cereal bars.
It's essentially not taking away all the things that you love most. It's just trying to encourage you to eat a little bit more healthily and to teach you about portion size. Nathan, that one's yours to get you a little bit buffer and bigger when I see you again. And Chris, and they'll get you slimmed down. All right, best of luck. See you guys.
I'm going to go home and definitely eat a lot more than I'm used to eating. I'm definitely going to push myself.
Having the chats with Dr. Christian, seeing the disgusting things that what I'm eating is actually doing to my body was a real wake-up call for me. I want to get onto the plan and I want to change my life.
Definitely been an experience.
It has.
We'll find out later if the boys stick to their healthy eating plans. In his bid to keep our unhealthy food habits in check, Dr. Christian has been stateside.
All this series, I've been reporting on America's worsening obesity crisis from Evansville, Indiana, America's fattest city, to try to stop us in the UK from heading in the same direction.
38% of Evansville residents have a BMI of 30 or above. With a fast food joint on every corner, there's temptation everywhere you look.
Chinese to barbecue to places that had everything you want.
Steaks, fried fish. Everybody likes barbecued ribs.
But what happens when you're so addicted to food, you just can't stop eating?
When you have weight issues, admitting that you have a problem is a vital first step, and the people in this meeting are about to do just that.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Thursday evening Overeaters Anonymous meeting. My name's and I'm a compulsive overeater.
Overeaters Anonymous are a global organisation who support people who just can't control the urge to eat. And here in Evansville, things are so bad that there are 3 sessions a week.
You know, for me, cheesecake was like crack cocaine would be to a crack addict. I could not rest, could not sleep as long as I knew that cheesecake was there.
I ate from the time I got up in the morning until the time I went to bed.
And I proved to myself without a shadow of a doubt that if I'm left to my own devices, I'm going to eat myself to death.
What I know today is that I had the disease of addiction, but by working the steps, the desire to overeat compulsively has been lifted.
By sharing their thoughts here, members can start on the road to recovery. And Dr. Christian wants to know what's driven these Evansville residents to attend.
How does it feel to be revealing so much about yourselves here?
I can drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine and then I stop. But when it comes to food, I just don't stop. The reason that I have 15 days of abstinence now is listening to another member. And so as he shares honestly, that inspires me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian.
And with obesity at critical levels in Evansville, Dr. Christian's impressed with this positive approach.
Some of these stories are incredibly moving. And actually what these people have realised is it's not simply a question of being greedy. Food can be a real addiction, and it's something that science is only just getting to grips with. But these people are a long way ahead of science in realising that.
Eating addiction is becoming increasingly recognised in the UK too. Overeaters Anonymous meetings now take place in more than 90 locations across the country. It's been more than 10 weeks since takeaway addict Chris and scrawny stylist Nathan left the feeding clinic. Time to find out if they've stuck to their healthy eating plans.
I am quite nervous today about finding out the weight loss. I've been working really hard and I know I've been really sticking to it. I just hope that it shows on the scales, really.
Chris, I can see straight away that there have been some big changes with you, haven't there? How have the last few months been?
I've been sticking to the diet very closely. I've been doing lots of exercise. I built it up from swimming once a week to swimming 2 or 3 times a week now. Great. And the gym once or twice a week as well.
You had vast platefuls of food and takeaway. Have you managed to rein that in?
It was a dead stop. As soon as I started the eating plan, that was it, no more takeaways.
And you don't miss them, or...?
Yeah, of course I do. You do? Miss them occasionally.
And I'm guessing you've probably saved quite a bit of money out of all this.
A lot of money, yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been able to afford some new clothes and to go out a bit more as well.
This is all sounding fantastic, and I can't wait and see what the result is.
I'm really nervous about stepping onto the scales. If I've not put the weight on, then I'll be quite disappointed with myself, really.
So, tell me, how has the last few months been?
I've enjoyed cooking. I've enjoyed doing meals from scratch and not just buying a microwavable meal or...
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because your sort of specialty, really, as grand as it got, was pasta and sauce.
I can honestly say that I've not done a pasta and sauce since before I went into the feeding clinic. I bought myself a training ball and I bought myself some weights. I've definitely noticed a big change in energy levels. I feel a lot more sort of awake in the morning.
Seeing you today, you do look much brighter, healthier, happier. The changes that you're making now really are laying foundations for a much healthier future for you, so it's all good. I'm happy. It's good to see you again.
Time for the gents to be reunited.
Hello, mate.
You all right?
Looking good.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
I felt like I was waiting for a blind date walking through that door then.
Yeah, you're looking really good.
You're looking quite slim in your face, really.
Thank you.
Chaps, let me come in and put you out of your miseries then, shall I? Nathan, let's start with you. You had quite a lot of bad habits to get over, really, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which isn't easy.
No.
So weight-wise, do you think you've gained?
I'll say I'm hoping I've gained.
I can tell you, modest but important, 3 pounds.
Fabulous.
But you've put on 1 inch around your arms. Now, an inch when your arms aren't huge to start with is a lot, and you've also put on an inch around your chest. So give it 6 months, you're going to be ripped, and that's going to be good. I think you're going to be very happy. So really well done. What do you think, Chris?
I can really see the chest, actually. I think that's probably what makes your face look different as well.
Chris, what in an ideal world would you have liked to have lost, target weight?
I was hoping for 3 stone loss.
That's a little bit ambitious, isn't it, wouldn't you say?
Maybe. I'd have liked to have got to 3.
I can tell you that you have actually only lost 3 stone. You've done it. You've done it.
Yes.
Oh, yes, you've done it. Phenomenal. Huge amount of weight.
Yes.
Possibly, if I'm going to say anything, it's a little bit faster than I would have liked. So you can actually afford to just chill a little bit now, but phenomenal. And oh my God, doesn't it show, wouldn't you say?
Yes. 100%.
You have lost 11 inches around your tummy, which is probably the most that I have yet seen in this short time. 11. That is why you are having to buy new trousers.
I'm just so excited that I've done it. It's you can't even put it into words. When I get home, nothing's going to change. I've lost 3 stone. I've got another 7 to go. And I'm just really looking forward to having a go and carrying on.
I'm feeling pretty happy with myself, actually. £3 for the size that I am is quite a lot of weight. If I can keep on doing what I've obviously been doing, I'm going to be my end goal within sort of the next year.
Next week, there's tension at the table as Supersize Saskia swaps diets with Superskinny Nick.
Do you not think you should at least try to eat the porridge? Just can't eat the food.
19-year-old Jonathan reveals the extremes of his eating disorder.
In 9 months, I lost just over 11 stone.
And in Evansville, the obese community are calling on God to help them lose weight.
I have seen it all now. Jesus and weight loss. Why not?
Having a GSOH is usually top of the list. Next on 4, a comedian with Tourette's is looking for love. Our brand new series, The Undateables. And just in case you missed embarrassing bodies last night, well, you can catch up with 4OD.